Just wanted to talk about expungements and limited access petitions as they relate to military service. I've been getting a lot of questions from individuals interested in military service. Most of you know that I was in the Army for a few years, and so I do get a lot of calls from people thinking about entering the service who have criminal records, and I'm in a good position to advise them on that, being a former JAG officer myself. So what I want to talk about is, first of all, the application and speaking with your recruiter. You want to answer the question the way it's stated. You don't want to think too much about the question in terms of, well, I had my record expunged and that doesn't count, or I filed a limited access petition and no one's going to see it. As most of you are aware, there's an expungement in Pennsylvania which wipes your record clean, and then there's a limited access petition which limits the access of people looking at the record. Limited access petition is a fairly new concept in Pennsylvania. It's limited to charges, usually ungraded misdemeanors, where there is no violence involved. So DUIs, simple drug possessions, retail thefts. So there's that's that aspect of it. With regards to expungements, that's a situation where you haven't been convicted, or you were convicted of a summary offense and a 10-year period has passed and you haven't incurred any new arrest or any contact with law enforcement. So with regards to expungement or limited access petition, if the question asks, have you ever been arrested for anything, or have you ever been convicted of something or charged, you're going to want to answer yes to that question. I know a lot of attorneys may disagree with me, saying, well, you've had your record expunged, it's never happened. That's not true. Don't answer a question incorrectly or just flat out you're lying. That's just not the way to start a potential military career. You have to understand that if you falsify an enlistment document, that can be a charge on the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And that's not a situation that you ever want to be in. So you don't want to hang it over your head. In most situations, with exception to a few things, you can be granted a waiver. So it's better to be honest. So let's move on to the concept of a waiver. In the criminal justice world, there's obviously a great variety of offenses. There's traffic offenses, which are obviously speeding and running stop signs and things like that. You don't need a waiver for those up to 5 offenses. No waiver is required. You can process your application like anyone else. Then there's non-traffic offenses. And what I'm referring to here would be considered summary offenses in Pennsylvania, or petty offenses in New Jersey, or disorderly persons offenses potentially in New Jersey. So in those situations, again, you will not need a waiver for up to, I believe it's 3 or 4 offenses, even if they are convictions. So if you've been convicted of something, even if you've had your record expunged or sealed, and I know New Jersey has a lot more options in terms of expungements than Pennsylvania does. But again, up to 4 of those matters, you don't need 3 or 4. I don't believe you need a waiver there. Then we move on to more serious things like DUIs, simple drug possession, certain types of simple assaults, terroristic threats, things of that nature. In those situations, those would be considered misconduct in the military. For those, you are going to need a waiver. So if you've been convicted of something in the misdemeanor range, even if it's a DUI, again, don't assume that you can't enter the military, but again, be upfront with your recruiter, say that this happened, I was immature, or I made a poor decision and I regret it. But in most situations, the recruiter wants to help you enter the service. So just be honest. In addition, we have obviously major misconduct. Now we're getting into the felony range. So aggravated assault, possession, intent to deliver drugs or narcotics, gun offenses, otherwise known as VUFA offenses in Pennsylvania, graves offenses in New Jersey, These would all be considered major misconduct. Obviously, things like robbery, burglary, manslaughter. I don't want to talk too much about murder because if you're in that situation, I don't think you're really, and you've been convicted of it. Again, I don't think a military career is probably going to happen there. But with regards to offenses like robbery, aggravated assault, again, if it happened as a juvenile, you have a juvenile record, people say, oh, well, it's sealed, people don't see it. Again, answer the question the way it is being asked to you. Don't try to think around the question or lawyer up on the question. That's not why you're there. You want to go into the military. You made this decision. Don't try to navigate around the system based on something that's told to you by a friend, a family member. Even if they say, hey, listen, I was in the military for 20 years and no one made a big deal about this. They're not lawyers. They're not familiar usually with the UCMJ. You don't want to just assume. Just be upfront with the recruiter. Again, in most situations, you can obtain a waiver. It is not a major issue. But so I can't stress it enough. Same goes with job applications. Obviously, unlike the military, there's no separate justice system. But again, a job application, if they ask you a question, have you ever been charged? Have you ever been convicted? And some questions will even go further. This includes expungement. Again, answer the question truthfully. Be upfront with the person that you're applying with. And in most situations, I will tell you from just experience, having represented people for over a decade, the employer is not going to hold it against you, provided that you were upfront, you owned up to it, they see that you did what it took to get it corrected or resolved, and that will serve you a lot better than being dishonest. Most recruiters, including the military, will look harsher on dishonesty rather than a person being upfront. So I just want to pass that along to you. If you have questions about expungements, military waivers, limited access petitions, you can always call our office at 215-755-9000. I know during the shutdown, a lot of young people are kind of having time to think, and I would highly recommend military service. If you're thinking about it, it's a great experience. It's a great way to start your career or even stay for a career. So if you have additional questions, you can also email me at alfonso@gambonelaw.com. I've written an article on this, which I'll link in the description below. If you like these videos, please consider liking and subscribing. I've received some great feedback on them, and I will continue to do them. I hope you and your family are doing well during this difficult time, and I wish you all the best.